Hello, grade 5. How are you? This is our 7th online lecture. And in this lecture, I'm going to explain a new lesson, which is the angles. So in this lesson, we are going to identify what's the meaning of an angle and what are the elements of the angle. We are going to identify the types of angles, and we are going to measure some angles using protractor. So our tasks are, the first task is to identify the angle. The second task is to identify the types of the angles, and the third task is to measure angles. So in this chapter, you will need your protractor, ruler, and a pencil. Let us start by the first task, which is identifying angles and their elements. What's an angle? Two rays that share the same endpoint, they form an angle. And this point where the two rays intersect is called the vertex of the angle. The two rays are called the sides of the angle. So let us take an example. We have this angle, or the two rays BA and BC. So the rays BA and BC, they meet or intersect at the point B. So they have the same endpoint, which is B. So they form an angle which is inside. So this figure shows the angle ABC or CBA. So in order to name an angle, you have to use three letters, and the vertex should be in the middle, which is B. So it's either ABC or CBA. So the point where the rays intersect is called the vertex, and the vertex here is B. And the two rays are called the arms of the angles, and the arms are BA and BC, and the angle is ABC. And don't forget that the vertex point is always in the middle of the name of the angle. Here are some examples of an angle. So this is an angle, this is an angle. You can mark this angle like this. This is an angle. Also, this is an angle, and this is an angle. I'm going to take only one example of them. I'm going to name it like this, MOP. So the vertex in this case is O. The arms are OM and OP, and the name of the angle is MOP. You can practice the others also. For example, this is APQ. So this is an angle APQ with vertex P, arm PA, and PQ. And the naming is APQ. You can make a lot of examples in order to practice them. So remember that the vertex is the point where the rays intersect. The arms are the two rays of the angle. In this case are AB and AC. And the naming of the angle is three letters, the vertex in the middle. Now let us start with task 2. So we already identify what's an angle and what are the elements of the angle. Now we are going to identify the types of the angle. So as you can see, an angle could be acute, could be right, obtuse, straight, or null. If the measure of the angle, first of all, we measure the angle using degrees. If the angle is between 0 and 90, then the angle is acute. If it's exactly 90, then the angle is right. If it's greater than 90 but still less than 180, then it's an obtuse. If it's equal to 180, then it's a straight angle. And if it's equal to 0, then we say that this angle is null. I'm going to start by the first type, which is the acute angle. And the acute angles is an angle, or it's any angle that measures between 0 and 90 degrees. The following angles that you are going to see now are acute angles. So this is 18, 45, 33, 88, 22.5, 7 degrees. All of these are acute angles because they measure any number between 0 and 90 degrees. The second type, which is obtuse angles, are angles that measure between 90 and 180 degrees. So all the following examples are obtuse angles: 135 degree, 93 degree, 174 degree, 117.8, 110, and 157. All of these are obtuse angles because they measure between 90 and 180 degrees. Now, right angles. Well, right angle is exactly 90 degrees. So if you measure the angle and it's 90, then we say that this angle is a right angle. And now, straight angle. Straight angle is an angle that measures 180 degrees. So if you measure the angle and it measures 180, then we say it's a straight angle because it actually make a straight line. If you can see, the arms make a straight line. They form a straight line, then this angle is a straight angle. Let us make a quick exercise. I'm an angle. I measure between 0 and 90. My name is an acute angle, of course. So any acute angle, it measures between 0 and 90 degrees. I'm an angle, I measure exactly 90 degrees. I'm acute, right, or obtuse? I'm a right angle. An angle whose measure is more than 90 but still less than 180 is called acute, right, or obtuse? Of course, it's an obtuse angle. Which of the following is an acute angle? Remember that an acute angle is any angle that measures between 0 and 90 degrees. So it's 45, of course. 108, 120 and 305 are obtuse angles. What's the measure of straight angle? The straight angle, should I remind you that it forms a straight line? Then it measures 180 degrees. Now let us start with the third task, which is measuring the angles using a protractor. So hold on your protractors and let us start learning how do we measure the angles. What do we use to help us measuring angles? It's a protractor. So this is the shape of the protractor. And here's the standard protractor that you have to use in your homework at home or in classroom. So this is a protractor. As you can see, it starts, if you start from the right side, it starts from 0 till 180. And if you start from the left side, it starts also from 0 to 180. Suppose that you started from the right, which is this 0. So any angle between 0 and 90, it's an acute. But if it is 90, then it's a right angle. More than 90, it's obtuse until you reach the straight angle. So all of these values, if you can see them, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, then 100, 110, 120, 100. That's how you read if you started from the right side. But if you started from the left side, from this 0, then you read 0, 10, 20, 30 until you reach the 180, which is the straight angle. So it depends on the position of the lines, whether you start from the right or from the left. We're going to take an example. When we use a protractor, we need to line it up correctly. We need to line the protractor correctly. Suppose you put the protractor like this. You need to make sure that the protractor is lined up correctly. Is this ready to measure the angle? Think well. First condition that you have to do is that the line or one of the arms should be on the 0. If you look at this angle you should start from the right. So you should start from this 0. Okay, that's the condition when I told you it's either you start from the right or from the left. It depends on the position of the angle. So we are going to start from 0, but is this ready to measure the angle? Were you right? It wasn't right because two conditions should be satisfied in order to do it right. You have to look for the upside down T in the middle of the straight line. If you can see here, we have a T shape. Can you see it? I'm going to change the color. This is a T shape, okay? This T shape means that the vertex should be on this point, okay? So the vertex of your angle should be exactly on this point. This is the first condition. And the second condition is that the arm should be on the zero line. So two conditions should be satisfied in order to know that you are measuring correctly. The vertex should be on the point of the protractor, this point, and arms should be on the zero. One of the arms should be on 0 degree. And now you can measure. How you can measure? It's very easy. Whenever you rotate the angle, it doesn't matter which way around the angle is. You always need to line the upside down T on the vertex of the angle, as you can see. So even if you rotate the angle, you should rotate the protractor as much as you put the vertex on the point of the protractor. And now you are ready to measure. Read from the 0 and follow the inner set of the numbers. So you start from the 0 until you reach the second arm. So this is 0, 10, 20, 30. Wow, now you should stop. 30. Then you start counting these lines here, okay? So you start counting them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the arm stands on the 5 dash after the 30. So this means that the measure of the angle is 35. So it measures 35. So it's very easy. Put the protractor or the point of the protractor on the vertex, one of the arms on the 0, and you start counting until you reach the second arm and you read the number. That's it. So that was our lesson. Things you should know when you finish is, what's an angle? An angle is formed when two rays meet or intersect. What are the elements of an angle? The point where two rays meet is the vertex, and the two rays are called the arms. And what are the types of the angles? The types of the angles are acute, right, obtuse, straight, and none. And how do we measure an angle? We measure it using a protractor. We put the protractor on the end point of the point of the vertex, one of the arms on the 0 line, and we start reading.
Angles. Angles are all around you. Angles are formed when two rays meet. If there are two rays such that they have a common endpoint, vertex, then the amount of turn, curl, between these two lines is known as angle between those lines. There are angles in most shapes and in many of the objects you see and use on a daily basis. So, the two key points about angles are: angle is the amount of turn, curl, between two straight lines with common end point. It is measured in degrees. There are four types of angles: acute angle, obtuse angle, right angle, and straight angle. When two rays are perpendicular or making an angle of 90 degrees with each other, they are said to form right angle. A right angle is exactly 90 degrees. Right angles are often shown with a box in the corner. That lets you know that it's exactly 90 degrees. Squares and rectangles are formed using right angles. You are looking out of the window. You notice that the window panes are forming right angles. You are exploring a new city with your family. You must have noticed that many of the buildings are built out of bricks. The bricks all form right angles. When two rays make an angle with each other such that it is greater than 0 degrees and less than 90 degrees, these rays are said to be making an acute angle with each other. Acute angles are greater than 0 degrees and less than 90 degrees. Some triangles are formed of acute angles. The slice of pizza that you eat for lunch is an acute angle. You get a new box of pencils to take to school. After you sharpen all of the pencils, you notice that the tips are acute angles. When two rays make an angle such that it is greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees, then these rays are said to be making an obtuse angle with each other. Obtuse angles are more than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. Many shapes such as pentagons, octagons, and triangles are formed of obtuse angles. You are walking along a river and you see a beautiful boat. You can notice that the sails are forming obtuse angles. You are playing outside with your friends. When you look up, you notice that the edges of the roof of your house are forming obtuse angles. When two rays are pointing in exactly opposite directions, they are forming straight angles. Let's review the lesson.
That was everything. Thanks for watching.